So he's in the studio with all these producers, and he's working on this album that I don't know if this was always the working title, but it's Illmatic, which is considered to be one of, if not the greatest rap albums of all time.
Absolutely. Didn't have too much commercial success, but in the hood, we loved it.
Well, that's something that we could talk about, because so this came out in 94, and another big album came out in 94.
Ready to Die.
Right, and Illmatic, all the people that were like into rap music and like lyricism were like, this is next level shit. Like, this is fucking amazing. And it didn't sell to the extent that you would expect something to sell when the hype is so big around it.
Right.
And it got like 5 mics in the Source and shit.
Absolutely, and that was the big deal, because there were pretty much 2 magazines that were running things at that time. It was Vibe magazine, ran by Quincy Jones, and the Source ran by Benzino, and they would credit you with mics. And that was like the first album to ever get 5 mics, because the Source wasn't giving 5 mics to nobody.
Unless your name was Nas.
Right?
But Ready to Die came out by Biggie and had like some more commercial songs on it. So that ended up selling more. And that kind of affect the way that Nas goes forward after Illmatic a little bit, because he kind of sees how that works.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, like clearly I have like the torch or whatever. Like everybody knows that I'm fucking an amazing rapper, but I need to make the world know in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he comes out with It Was Written.
But I don't want to go straight to it yet, because I want to talk more about Illmatic.
Yeah. Illmatic was crazy. That was some album. It was like a breath of fresh air. People really needed all that consciousness and lyricism, especially here in New York. There was just 2 different types of rap. You was either partying a lot, or you really gangstering a lot, or you're just really talking about conscious stuff.
Right.
And around the mid 90s, that's when like the conscious stream really like blew up, and Nas was pretty much at the helm for that.
Well, he was, because the thing is just like his lyrical prowess was so expert that he really, like, he was, you know, I was seeing interviews with him, and he's like, this is like, that album is like the side of America that people don't want to talk about, right? Because that's what he lived. Like, he wasn't just making this shit up.
Right.
Like, this is the shit that he was actually living, and, you know, he was actually telling the story.
Yeah.
Because, you know, all the time you go on, 2 people shot and killed here, 2 people shot and killed here. You don't hear the fucking story about it. It's just a statistic. But when you're putting that onto a record and you're having people listen to it, you're like, this is what's actually happening. This isn't just the end result. This is everything that's going into it. This is the mindset. This is what everybody's doing. Like, this is the actual like psychology almost of a person in this situation.
Yeah, I love the way he describes things. You know, one song he's particularly talking about some young kid who's just like 9 years old, who's got a gun, and talking about how rough it is out here. And he's talking to the shorty or whatever, and you know, he says, and then I rose and wiped the blunt's ashes from my clothes. Like, it's like little things like that, like, you know, that make the picture so vivid.
Yeah, just the little details and shit. Yeah, and there's just things, I mean, I know this was a hook, this was AZ, but like I think about this in my head all the time. Life's a bitch, then you die. That's why we get high, because you never know when you're gonna go. And it's like, that's very real for them, but that's real for everybody in life. You really don't know when you're gonna go ever. So that's just like, there's certain lines from, I mean, that album and, you know, many Nas songs that sometimes will just pop up in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh fuck, where did that come from?
Yeah. I mean, that album was insane. I feel like pretty much every track on that album was amazing, and people loved his mixtape style freestyle and stuff. They first threw Hang Time at us, which got too much play on TV. Like, it was out of control. But I mean, I feel like One Love was like the main one on the album that really did everything for him, and it had like 4 remixes, which was like insane. And that's when people used to do stuff like that, and then I think that one was huge. And then after that, I don't know why it didn't get super commercial success, but at that time, rap was going for a turning point. You had the West Coast, and it was all about partying and drinking, and Biggie and them were all about just getting money. It wasn't about being smart anymore.
Well, I think that is why it wasn't. You know, because he wasn't. I mean, if you listen to like the gold, like whatever, 91 to 94, like that age of like the biggest rap albums, like I would say Illmatic is probably the realest. Like, he's not trying to necessarily portray something other than what it is.
Right.
Whereas like Ready to Die, like, there is some real parts of that album. I mean, Biggie's talking, like, it's an everyday struggle. That he literally ends the album with him killing himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's not necessarily glamorizing everything the whole time, but then there are certain songs where it's like, I made this song to party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I made this to be a hit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Obviously, it had different formulas, because Nas was doing underground beats, and Big was just taking popular songs and rapping over them, so you could tell.
Yeah, but I do want to say the beats on Illmatic are fucking wild. Insane.
Still to this day, they give you that hair raising, that feel where they go through you. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it really sounds like some underground shit. Mm-hmm. Like, it sounds like some shit that, like, you almost shouldn't be able to hear right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially, like, because, you know, you're from New York.
Yeah.
I was from fucking Florida, and I'm listening to this shit. I'm like, yo, this sounds. I feel like this sounds like how New York feels.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, Nas and a lot of others, but Nas in particular, a lot of people that come out of Queensbridge too, Mobb Deep, their beats sound like New York.
Yeah.
And I always felt that, even while, you know, being a young person that didn't even think about New York like that. I was just home, you know, but their beats felt like they gave me visions of buildings, guys hanging outside like they did.
Yeah, 100%. So, but again, I mean, we just said he had so many fire producers on the album. It's like, well, it kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it's one of the most legendary rap albums. Yeah. Ever.
Yeah.